Welcome, everyone, to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are available in podcast form. You can pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. As always, we welcome your questions and comments. Hit us up at dj@ArtistFirst.com. Here they are, your co-hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, Z-Man. And I am Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
And she's Margaret. And of the two of us, you are the more courageous one.
Don't think so.
All right, can we have a show of hands in the audience? Who thinks Margaret is a heck of a lot more courageous than anybody you know? I do.
Goofy.
But it's so true. We could go into our personal stories, or maybe we will a little bit later, but this topic came to you. This was kind of your inspiration for tonight. I really haven't introduced it properly, so let me just back up and say what we're going to be talking about this evening is courage. But it's not, I think, long ago, early days of the show, we did have a show on courage, but this is not, it's not specifically courage, but the courage of your convictions. And I think that of what we see in the world today, and I'm not talking about today, but I mean in this, let's say, in these latter days, there's a great deal of lack of what I would call courage of one's convictions, in the sense that Margaret, it's not that people have a lack of opinions. In fact, I think they have a lot of those. There are many people who have opinions, and they're unafraid to spout them off. But courage of one's convictions carries with it the burden of two things. It carries with it the burden of kind of having fidelity, being fealty to those convictions, having some sort of rock, something to base them on. And then it also carries the burden of I guess I would call it defense. It's very easy to have opinions which agree with everyone else's opinions. And it is also very easy to have courage when you aren't tested.
Mm-hmm.
And one part of the statement that we're going to put up on the website is that the courage of your convictions, we say it's egoless, but in truth, it is the ego which is the target. It is what is trying to be destroyed or wounded. If you don't, if you no longer, if your opinion is challenged and it is your ego which is tied to it, in other words, you've identified yourself with this opinion and it's challenged, and you turn around and run away and run from your quote-unquote conviction, but it wasn't much of one, and go with, basically back down from the challenge. The reason you do that is because of your ego. You don't want to defend your opinion or have the courage of your convictions to defend it. You're more concerned with whether or not it's going to inflate or deflate or wound the ego. So one thing that you have to sacrifice if you're going to have the courage of your convictions is this idea that you're going to be loved and feted by everyone, and everyone's going to think you're a great guy or a great gal. No, Sir St. Thomas More wouldn't have agreed with you. He had the courage of his convictions, and he lost his ego and his head in the pursuit of them.
Kind of appropriate when you think of it.
It was a Sir Saint, wasn't he? I don't know. He was at least a saint. Lord? I don't know what he was. Go ahead, but yes.
Well, the question comes down to what is the most important thing in your life. And if you equate acceptance of your person only as your gauge on what is important in your life, then you will make your ego your surface face, the most important concern. The first thing you think about and the last thing you think about before you go to bed.
Mm.
And that only lasts for very surface, superficial interactions, where all that is required is that outward face. When it comes to who you are, you must come to peace with yourself first, because everything that you encounter in this life challenges who you think you are. And until you've come to the point where you are well acquainted with yourself and grounded in the core of who you are, core of your being, the ego seems like the only thing that you should be considering. What do you mean that you have a different opinion? The whole group is saying this. How could you say anything else? Don't you understand your identity is tied to our group? And that is a very old thought pattern. Very old. It begins with just being human and being in a clan of some kind.
Yeah, you want to be accepted.
Mm-hmm. And unless you did that, well, you're not doing what the family wants. There is repercussions for that. And then you get into things like standing and where you are within that family group or the societal group. It gets, complicated. But regardless, coming back to what it is that your heart is telling you, because every single time you come up against something, there will be questions on what to do. And if you make a choice that your heart tells you, you begin to realize that you're going to be regretting that.
Yeah, I mean, to
back up.
I love it. Yeah, that's for the universe of what's going on here. But then, the courage of conviction, that's why we said that it's egoless. If your ego, as you were mentioning, is like a big sail or a big something like a giant weather vane. Okay, and then you have this proud peacock of a weather vane, and you're going along. If the wind shifts, that weather vane or that sail wants to drag you in that direction. It very, very easily catches the winds, let's say, of popular opinion,
right?
Or as you mentioned, family or society, or so. The pressure of the group, of the clan, of the popular opinion is enough. You feel it immediately that this is going against you, and the ego sends this thrill of, let's say it's a threat, it's fear that is basically going into, as you mentioned, it comes into your being,
right,
from the outside, and it challenges you. It literally says, "Go this way, or else," or we'll think less of you, or whatever it is.
You won't be accepted.
You won't be accepted. So it is this this sort of, I will say existential threat, but it's not existential. It's ego's existence that gets threatened, that the ego feels threatened. The ego feels like I, because the ego is always all about I won't be liked. I won't be part of the group. I'll be this and I'll be that. So I have to turn around and agree that, if all the group says that, we're going to wear our underwear on the outside today, and if you don't wear your underwear on the outside, you're just a terrible person, and I don't want to do that, but I do it anyway. It's because your ego, that big sail of the ego, wants to go with the flow. It wants to, tack with the wind. It wants to make sure that it's never out of step with what it thinks is the popular opinion. And then you have people, the great dissenters, the people who are really looked upon as very courageous, Gandhi, who in essence had the whole opinion of his society, his whole education. He was educated in England. Was telling him, that this is the way the modern world goes. This is how things are. These are the rules, and this is where you fit in, and this is how we're going. And maybe it's a good time to say that courage is not the most powerful position. It's easy to be courageous if you've got 10,000 guns at your back and the whole army, and you can tear a hole in anything. The courage comes when you're in the weakest position, when you look like everything and everyone is against you. And that if you stand against it, you will be destroyed, flattened, silenced, bound, made into a pariah, and your name will be stricken from the temples, and the whole, you're going to lose everything. And that ego shivers down, all the whole winds come in, and it shivers down into it tries to shiver down into your very core and say, we will be lost, forsaken, destroyed. We will never rise again. I will be gone unless you turn around and go with this great wind. And there you are. All that, the whole nation, the whole world says, you're wrong. Mm. And then you have this tiny little egoless voice that says, what? No. I think the other quote, we put a quote up on the website, but we saw the other quote that we almost went with was from Gandhi. And, if you think of anyone who had the most courageous, the courage of his convictions in modern times, that would be one who would certainly come up among those great people, those great men and women, because if nothing more than, if you look at his life, it was quite egoless. He became less and less and less. He led a revolution by walking to the sea, by spinning yarn, and these were amazing acts of defiance in the most humble and quietest and weakest place.
You mean literally spinning yarn?
Yes.
No. I'm just saying that.
Oh yeah, I'm
phrase,
sorry.
I understand it.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, literally, because we could go into the history of it, but assuming the courage is knowing that even from the weakest position, all that huge wave knows at its heart that it is wrong. And it is coming at you with all that power and all that threat and all that bluster and all those hurricanes, because at its heart it is false. But it's still not easy to go against it. And one thing you have to sacrifice on the altar of courage is that very precious thing, your ego.
Well, when you are in a position like that, where everything is against you, and they want to take you down and force you into subservitude, what rises in you, especially when you understand that this is what they're doing, okay? It's one thing when you're young and you're looking at it going, well, is this what Am I just not understanding what's going on and I should just go along with it because I trust them?
Although you may feel it's wrong, you feel that you don't have the...
You feel uncertain
Right.
about it, and you know that you don't know everything. So I have something to learn. But after going through this a few times, especially in a culture or a certain type of culture, you sit there and you go, you know what? They're just telling me to do it because this is what they've always done. It has nothing to do with a nobleness of spirit. It has everything to do with convenience. And has everything to do with asserting their power that they have held for generations. And when you hit that point of realization, speaking for myself, something rises in you. And it doesn't matter to you that you will be shunned because of this, because you are doing something that they feel is wrong. You're saying something that's wrong. How dare you voice your own opinion? This is what our family says, or this is what our culture says. You must do it this way, and you must act this way. And I'm speaking from an Asian culture background, all right, where you are subservient to another. There is no such thing as an individual credit or honor. It's always family honor. Everything is family honor. You do everything for the good of the family. And even if you have accomplished something that was very difficult for you, what you wind up hearing is, oh, good, you did that for us. Aren't we wonderful? See, we produced you. You didn't build that.
Yeah.
That is the baseline of it. And you sat there and you went, you couldn't do this if you tried. You, who say you've produced me, couldn't do this if you tried. But therefore, because you feel this way, there's no life or appreciation given to me. It's all on you. You who are the heads or the power heads or the faces of the family. You get all the honor. And I know what it's like to be under that kind of influence. So voicing your own opinion, especially in that culture, because every family operates that way. Every family operates that way. Voicing your own opinion on something that is wrong, you immediately get, shh, don't say that. Why not? It's wrong. No, don't say that. But, no. And to actually bring it up when it's the appropriate moment, because there are timings, there's timing. As a child, you have no power. You feel helpless. But as an adult and you grow, you realize that you can make your own decision, especially in this Western world. You can begin to take hold of that which is within you and say, well, this is right. And I will regret not saying or doing this.
So you grow, the seed of courage is always there, is what I would... That's the specific cultural abuse, which is what it really is, of the individual, can be writ broad in many different ways. You can see it in cliques. You can see it in this society versus that society. It's part of human culture.
It is baseline to the human way of doing things. If you're with me, then you say this.
But it's really comes down to third chakra, power over, power under. It comes down to you're either with us or against us, and if you're against us, we're going to expel you from the body, whatever it is, and put you into the outside. And it's really a way of harnessing you via the ego. By you said the beginning is it's a wind that will push you if you're not able to stand against it. And I think you grow into courage. What feeds the ability to stand against something is the mature perception, first of all, of the injustice of it. We didn't talk about the injustice, but I think at the root of a conviction is that you feel that it's right. In fact, in many ways, you know that it's right. And if conviction meets conviction, you may have a conflict. And in fact, there may be right on both sides. And these types of conflicts can be very severe. I'm just saying conviction. But when conviction meets falsehood, and falsehood screams and yells and carries on and says, no, 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 you must do it this way, because we've always done it this way. And conviction sees that it is falsehood, that it is that at its root, it is not based in truth or in the individual rights which come from God. The right to yourself, the right to your own will, the right to your free will that it's trying to subjugate. These things are, it's like feet of clay in that culture, or feet of clay in any of these things. And when these things come up against someone who says, no, it's not right, the true fear, the driving force that is powering this wind that's trying to push you along and go with it, is that they are afraid that they'll be exposed, that this huge culture, which is denigrating the individual for power, when one individual stands up, it's literally a Tiananmen Square moment. You've got to crush that individual, or more might, or a whole falseness could come crashing down around our ears. So not one iota of dissent is allowed, because the smallest grain of dissent can crack the whole structure. Because it's like it reminds me of the cave. Plato's famous The Cave, because once you're enlightened, you can never go back. Once you see the truth, once you see the lie, it blossoms in your mind and says everything that they're doing is to defend this lie.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that this culture is doing is to make us go along, because if anyone stands up, it cracks the whole structure. This is the falseness, the delicacy of falseness.
Yes. And you get that kind of indoctrination.
It is indoctrination, yes. That's what you do to the children.
Yes. And when I say culture, you have to understand that there's people in everybody else's business. Everybody has an opinion about everybody else's business, although they say, oh, no, no, no. But the chatter goes on, and this is a common thing throughout all different cultures. They just do it different ways.
Mm.
But that is that perpetuation of that particular pattern. And they want to destroy you if you stand up for what you feel is right.
Mm.
And that's what is fascinating to me, because you get to a point in that where you just don't care what these people are saying to you. If you're getting beat, physically beat, because you are supposed to do exactly what they tell you. And this is why America's Constitution resonates so strongly. Freedom to be able to choose the way you want to go. All this other stuff from people who you feel are supposed to be loving and caring for you, but they want you to do it this way. And to have all the others watching this going, oh, well, I actually had a number of people tell me and tell my parents, you should beat her more. Because she doesn't listen. She's very stubborn. Beat her some more. And I want to tell people that there is a mindset that does this.
Oh, yeah.
It is out there. It's real, and it's evil.
Yet, I know that's a good specific example. You can find many others.
Yes.
It is that part of you specifically, and us all in general, that knows it's a lie, that knows it's wrong, that understands that it has to break this kind of connection, this parasitic connection to ego, because it's all about ego, in the sense that the idea of this type of control is to implant as you said, indoctrination into the youth when they're too young to understand that this is your identity, this is your ego. Without this, you are nothing. You are less than nothing. You're not even human if
Right.
you aren't going our way. Whatever our
Right.
way is, you're not even human.
You
And
don't have an identity by
Right.
yourself.
So identity, ego, is the id, the identity. It basically first puts into, as part of, let's say, the earliest indoctrination into this culture, is that this is you. You are us. You aren't an individual. You are this. And so that's your ego hook. They put a big hook into your ego. And then when you start to, let's say you want to do it something different, you want to go your own way, you want to be this, you want to be that, they pull hard on the ego hook, as hard as they can, inflicting as much pain and fear as possible.
That's
to
right.
say, no, you must go this way. So the fight here is really a fight of truth versus lies. It's a fight of the individual versus the groupthink. And it's the courage of your convictions. Convictions are the truth. Even if people say, well, it's not the absolute truth, it could be this, it could be that. Okay, conviction means that you've come to a ground truth within yourself. Can you learn something different? Sure. But what you know is that this truth is founded on free will and my choice and what I see as the truth.
More than that, it's deeper. I call it heart true.
Your conviction, though, has that grounding, the heart true. It requires you to relinquish or to break this ego hook of this is who we tell you are. And if you go away from that, we're going to yank it as hard as we can. You've got to break that. In doing so, you're going to end up egoless. You realize that no matter what they say or what they do or what state you end up in, you could be ending up looking like a beggar on the side of the road, carrying rice or salt, like Gandhi did. But no matter what they say, the truth, and this is great because MLK Day was yesterday, the truth will set you free. The courage of your convictions, breaking this ego hook. It's not like you're still an individual. You're still an I, but it's not the most important thing, nor is it hooked. You break it. You destroy the hook. And gosh, they'll come after you with everything. They will come after you with everything because one person standing up and saying, you're wrong, is too many.
Mm-hmm. Can't take it.
Can't take it. This is maybe a good moment to go and take a little break, but we can't take it anymore. We're going to take a break. We're going to go back to the studio. We're going to repair our egos and all the hooks, and we'll come back on the other side and talk more about courage.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lyons is book 1 of the adventures of Devkalion, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
Thanks for joining us on The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, Z-Man. And tonight we are talking about courage and courage of your convictions. And in the first half hour, we went into some detail about the sort of the way that cultures and societies and really humans in general use ego as a way of controlling people. Or really what they're saying is you know what it is, Margaret? The ego is a soft spot in everybody. Everyone wants to be loved. And so when you want to kind of put a seed in someone that you can yank on later, you can kind of plant it in their ego. You can put a hook there in the ego. The ego is easily hooked. And Madison Avenue knows that, and everybody knows that. But the courage of one's convictions, and really a willingness to stand on principle. That's something you don't hear much anymore. Again, standing on principle. It sounds so old-fashioned, but it's something which is important, and also it's difficult to do. When you want to stand on principle, people and cultures and societies will attack you. especially if your principle goes against their kind of, let's say, precepts of what makes us accept you. There's a good way of, there's an old saying that says if the flak is heavy, then you must be over the target. When you say something when you say something that provokes a very, let's say, an outsized reaction, you say something and you get a big blowback, it's because you've touched a nerve. And in cultures, there are certain things which are put in. Again, you talked about indoctrination in the first half hour. There are certain things which are saying, if these are bright lines, these are red lines. If you cross these, you can't be one of us anymore, whatever it is. And maybe some of them have basis in history or whatever it is, but at the end of the day, a lot of them are based on rote, or on we always have done it this way, or tradition, or really the idea of making sure that our kind of, let's call them falsehoods, are protected. If one of the falsehoods is that no individual is worth more than the group, which we all know is wrong, and it tears at the heart of it. It subjugates the individual into that which does not reflect the true spirit of the Creator that is in all of us. It's wrong. If you stand up for yourself and assert your individuality and you get gigantic blowback, you've touched a nerve. And at that point, is where you have to stand on principle. You say, I know this is wrong. Though all the world go against me, the courage of my convictions requires one thing. It requires something very dear. You have to sever your ego. You have to sever your identity, which may have been put into you before you were aware that it was happening, at a very young age. You are this, this is good, this is good, this is good. And you'll get, as it says in Christ in the gospel, you'll get mother against son, and father against daughter, and brother against brother, because you're severing those ego bonds for the truth, the courage of your convictions that this is right. How can you do this to me? Is usually the lament. How can you do this to me?
Yes.
And it's so wrong on so many levels. But the key is that your obedience is more important than your individuality, than who you are. In other words, their wound is because they have counted you as part of their body, as part of them, because you were so under their control that to remove your ego wounds them. And they say, how can you do this to me? Isn't that a perfect little phrase? How can you do this to me? Well, I'm not doing anything to you. You don't own me. I am me. I am my own individual spark of creation, of spirit. And I have the mandate to exercise my free will, not to be chattel to your will. And my doing what I believe is right may not be right, but you're saying that it wounds you that I'm not doing what you say is right is wrong.
Right. No, it's true. And you look at it, and when you realize that this is happening, you basically reject the ego that is being presented to you that you are supposed to be.
Yes, yes.
You literally have to say, no, that's not true. That's not me.
And it never was.
Correct. So you need to be able to say that, though, because that's a painful one. To say that's not me.
That's a scary place too.
Yes. So then, because then if you've invested all of your life force into believing that this that they presented to you has got to be you, And suddenly you realize there's a part of you that's saying, question arises. Who am I then? And this only really happens when you've had something to contrast it to.
Exactly.
You've had to go through a few things, and you realize that, this ain't cutting it.
Isn't that so important there? Don't go too fast past that. Because almost all of these societies try to limit the information that the individual will get because, in essence, exposing you to the broader world or exposing you to other ideas is seen as dangerous.
Right.
Because, again, it cuts at these feet of clay, this root of if you're not with us, you're against us. And almost all closed or almost all oppressive societies, and oppressive can be everything from the gulags down to, just the clique in high school. The clique in high school is like oppressive society.
It is.
They all are extremely sensitive to controlling the information that you get too.
Mm-hmm.
And limiting your experiences. Oh, we never do that. That's not. No one of us ever does that. If you do that, well, that's no fun. Or if you listen to, in some oppressive regime to the voice of the outside, you'll be shot, killed, put in the gulag. I mean, it can go everything from that to that, and everything in between. The point is that the free will also needs the free exchange of information. You need to be able to experience whatever it is that you can experience and take it in, understand it to the best of your ability, and then find the truth in it through all the information you bring in, every experience. When someone says, oh no, those experiences, all those things, no, those are shunned, those are the outer darkness, you can never learn about those things because they cut to the truth against, what they think, what these lies are.
What it does is it activates fear.
Yes. Because
you found a blind spot in that structure that they're trying to present to you. Mm-hmm. That it's got to be this way because this is how we operate. This is the way the world is defined. When you stand up against it, you're saying to them, the world is not defined the way you say it is. Mm. And fear arises. What do you mean that you're operating this way? That's not true. There's nothing that shows that what you're saying is true. At least that's what they try to convince you of. But when you've come to a point where you realize that, you know what, it doesn't matter what you say or what anyone else says. What is true resonates in my heart, and that is an experience that cannot be denied.
Right.
Having that experience is foundational to understanding who you really are, the wholeness of who you really are. And it's not just some sort of mental machination or some emotional face that is presented. You show this face, everybody loves you. You show this face, everybody hates you. Mm-hmm. Or you're shunned or you're rejected. It's like, no. That's what you guys do. But that's not who I am.
Well, and it's not who we're created to be.
That is not who I am. And it is embracing who you are. You decide that who you really are is most important in your life. Because the one thing I always hear from people who are coming to the end of their life is that they regret certain things. They regret never doing this and not knowing I could have been, or was I capable of doing this or achieving this. And that mindset of keeping you in this defined ego state according to our group will never allow you to fly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, here we come to dream the common dream. here we come to explore all that is us, and each individual unique spark has all these different things it can and can't do. It never will know until it tries them all, until it has the freedom to do so. So when you're here, we know at our heart we're put here to learn the new thing, the next thing, to be who we are, to try everything. Every child, every newborn child has all of that. And then very quickly, these ego hooks get put in.
Yeah, because they want to control you.
They want to control you, and it's well-meaning in many cases, but because it's shortcuts. This works, so try it. This worked for me, so try it. And yes, it's not that every ego hook is evil, but it denies, the past informs, but it doesn't control. The future, the now, is experienced now. The past, these cultures, why they're feet of clay is because they are static, many of them, or they're based on a realization of a truth of an individual long ago that is no longer here, that is not in the present now. It is no longer a truth that resonates or that has life and being. It has become a block, a box, a chain, a wall. It worked. Maybe it worked great for that particular moment of the universe in that time. But it has become a wall, a chain, a block. And to bring new life, newly incarnated from spirit with all that potential, and to throw it behind it, in this box behind a wall, because it feels safe to another.
Right.
Not to this new thing, but to another, is in essence, it's a trammeling of life. It's a denial of reality, of experience. It's a living in the past, by definition, and a fearful of the future, by definition, and a denial of the now. Those children, why we all look at a newborn child and see nothing but potential and light and growth, because that's what they are. That's what we all are. To the extent that you allow yourself to be trammeled, you give that up. But it's always there. You just pile crap on top of it. Sometimes that crap can be useful. Sometimes it's just hooks. A lot of times it's just hooks, and you know it. Your spirit knows it. It knows it's not here for this. I'm not here for this. I'm not here to waste my time on this. And you're right. At the end of one's life, by will or by knuckling under, you can say, yeah, okay. But there's that regret. I could have. That's the wrong thing to have. It's the wrong thing to have to bring back, the experience of regret. You don't want to bring that back.
Well, it's the easiest thing to bring back.
It's true.
It is. And it comes back to courage.
Mm.
When your heart expression sees something, and the resonance, the elation in the heart starts, and it begins to just open. It wants to sing. It wants to encompass what it's experiencing fully. It is a marvelous thing. In fact, you hear the phrase, it's wonderful to be alive.
Mm.
And that's the state we are born to be in. That is the state of living. Wonderful to be alive. It doesn't mean that everything's going your way, mind you.
No,
okay?
Often not.
And I can say that because going back to the pediatric cancer wards, the kids were happy to be alive in that moment. Whether it was doing something, sharing something, enjoying something, it was just wonderful to be alive. And it was without limitation. And it was egoless. They were just living. They were alive. They were enjoying. And to be in that state is a marvelous thing because you realize you are not dependent on what the outside world is showing you. And if suddenly the outside world changes its value systems or its reality in some way, shape, or form, like suddenly they realize we're not the smartest species on the planet. The sperm whales are. And they have a whole society under the water. They're just watching the strange bipeds. It's like, is that really going to change your reality?
Well, and I think it's interesting you brought up the kids in the cancer war, because I know but that is a form of rejection too, in the sense that the society tries to put them all in a box. Oh, you poor things box. And the ones who escape it because they say, no, I don't have time for your nonsense. I literally don't have time for your nonsense.
Exactly. They realize something that is very basic to all humans. You don't have time for this nonsense.
Exactly. I don't got time for your crap, man.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously. Life is too short for you to engage in illusion.
In ego games.
Heart true is probably the only way I can describe that state. You are true to the resonance that resides in you. And you know it's true. And nothing takes that away. Nothing can take that away.
Although you have to break, right? Because they'll yank really hard on that.
Everything around you will scream and try to pull you in certain directions.
Yep.
And they'll try to reason, they'll try to argue, they'll try to...
But one point, which is, again, there's also this, besides the fear, there's this incredible jealousy. Because at the heart of these people, they are these cultures. I don't say people, but these philosophies, these cultures. They're envious and fearful of the free individual, because the envy comes in. It's like, again, they're at their root. They know that it's wrong because they're people too. At their root, they know they're not free. They know they've given their egos up, and it's this envious jealousy of there's someone who's actually living their life. And maybe and it's not just I disagree and we're both living our lives. It's like they're out of Plato's cage. They're out of the cage. They're no longer in that cave, I should say, not cage. And they're free. And once you've shed those shackles, you'll be attacked, but you'll also be envied beyond belief.
Yes. Because suddenly you are living heart true.
Yeah.
And it's undeniable. Someone who's living that, the inside and the outside is pure.
And at the end of the day, it becomes incredibly attractive, because if look at Gandhi, he was shunned, he was a pariah, he was made the lowest, and yet he freed a nation, a gigantic nation. It followed this example, and there are many others like it, because once you free yourself from these ego hooks and you really go with the courage of your convictions, things become clear. You become a light, a shining light, and that attracts. If people are not completely bought into the falseness, they are looking for something that illuminates the darkness. And that beacon, that courage of convictions, the reason they're trying to snuff it out is that it will not only shatter all that falseness, but it will lead. It will become something that attracts others, that people want to emulate. Look at our friend the Buddha. His enlightenment, his realization of this way, his following of that conviction was a rejection of his current state, a rejection of his society, a rejection of all these things. And yet it became an incredibly huge movement. Look at Jesus. A rejection of the whole culture. You know, when he stood up in the temple and said, "These words are now fulfilled in your presence." He was in essence blaspheming the last 5,000 years.
Yep.
But yet the truth of that lives on 2,000 years later and has attracted
Millions.
billions of followers. Are they all perfect? No. Are they? That doesn't matter. The point is that initial idea is also incredibly attractive. You know, the idea that you can live your life under the courage of your convictions in that brilliant, scintillating spark of now becomes irresistibly attractive, because it's a true reflection of creative spirit, of the spirit of our Creator.
Yes. The spark.
The spark.
You hold true to your light, and sometimes your body winds up burning away.
On a cross. Unfortunately. Burning away, yeah. The physical doesn't matter.
Right. It doesn't matter. And you walk, it's a path that brings more peace than anything. You may have turmoil, but inner peace is great when you're walking in this way.
Right. And you know what, the other thing which kills these large societies, and I think you probably run into it yourself, is they hate the fact that you're happy.
Well, they can't understand, why do you have peace? You shouldn't be peaceful. How dare you be peaceful?
Right. We've rejected you. We've burned you. We've burned you in effigy. We've carved all your names off the temple. We've rejected you from the body. How dare you be peaceful and happy?
Right. That's when everybody looks at you and goes, "What is going on?" And heart peace. Heart peace. That is something that we pray and bless for all. And we've reached the end of our show.
Yes. We'll have to pray and bless at the end of the show. Is good. Anyway, I'm Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret. Follow your convictions. We love you.